Hello out there. What's going on, folks? I am Paul Veracci, and this is
Film Fights with Friends, and I'm Steven Kepler.
And we are here to host you with a very, I'm going to say special interview.
They're all special.
With Dr. Paul Heinzelmann today. I know, but I feel like this one's special because we're going a little bit out of our, I don't want to say comfort zone because we're pretty much comfortable everywhere we go.
It's not our typical theme.
It's not our typical theme, though.
We're not starting with a fight scene.
No.
Although this, in a way, like philosophically, this is about a fight.
Ooh,
right?
That's true.
We are sort of encouraging a fight in the industry for better standards,
you're
dude.
Getting deep, Steve.
I know. So we're welcoming you on this safety journey that we're going to take.
We have
today.
Dr. Paul Heinzelmann as
Yes.
a guest today, and he's going to be talking about the documentary he directed called Safe Sets, Dying to Work in the Film Industry.
Yeah, man. Holy shit. When we saw this...
That's what we said. Holy shit.
Yeah. This documentary was amazing.
For those of you in the industry, and for those of you not in the industry that know about the 3 or 4 big incidents that he talks about in this documentary, we'll go, 2 of them we go into, which is Rust and Midnight Rider.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil the whole thing.
No.
But those are 2 of the definite heavy hitters of in recent times of things.
He goes into Deadpool with Joy Harris. And
yes.
It's not an expose on those incidents. Those incidents are used to illustrate, a culture that we work in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that culture could possibly be facilitating towards negligence on set safety,
willfully or not.
Yes.
It's not about willful negligence, but negligence doesn't have to be willful. But it's an amazing documentary, and so we're gonna have Dr. Paul on in a minute to talk about how he came about to make this film. And for those of you who are our Patreon supporters, you will actually be able to see the documentary because we're hosting a screening here in New York on August 16th.
And you guys have guaranteed seats.
About a month from now. So if you're not a supporter on our Patreon, you need to start kicking in.
Steve's just basically telling you to get your fucking ass in here, guys.
Yeah, take that wallet out. Take that wallet out. No, but seriously. We're gonna have an invite list of industry folks that we want to invite to see the movie, but all our Patreon members will be invited to come watch it.
Yep.
So it's and listen, Patreon is what helps keep this boat floating right here, and you get a lot of perks, right? You get to go to our live events for free.
You get early access to our episodes.
Early access to the episodes. We send you some swag. Custom pins, and we do random giveaways. We've given away a copy of Stephen Kesting's book. We gave away
a bunch of signed copies,
signed posters,
autographed copies of Emergence.
Yeah. So we randomly give stuff away. And plus, I think it's just cool if you want to be part of our community and help keep this show alive.
Or you can like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Yo, speaking of YouTube.
Oh, what do you got?
No.
Oh, we got our YouTube.
We got shout outs, man.
Good shout outs on YouTube.
We got this made me feel really good, right? Because we're a new podcast. And as we approached season 2, the beginning of season 2, and we're already 6 episodes into season 2, but because we batch these things, we're just talking about this now.
Right.
We got a lot of love on our YouTube channel and engagement of people saying they can't wait for season 2. It was amazing.
And what's so funny,
we love you guys,
is I never thought that.
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
We got
it's funny. The funniest one is my wife's review that I read, which she's like,
this might be a gimme.
I'm like, but the fact that my wife will listen to my podcast after listening to me all fucking day must say something.
Yeah, totally. But so we want to thank Combat Principles MMA, who is Josh Peters.
Josh.
Yep. And we want to thank Frankie Bay, second time commenter on our YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah. Frankie posted, "This show is great. 5 exclamation points. Season 2, let's go."
Awesome. Thanks, Frankie.
Yo, Frankie, man. And Mark Rose, Stunts, also a second time poster.
Wow.
Dude,
So we've
re-engagement.
got some re-engagement. That's the best.
He put, looking forward to season 2. This show is awesome. Very educational.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully season 2 will be just as educational.
And then Julio Rivera, who is BJJ black belt.
I'm like,
here we are again, BJJ black belts.
Yeah.
But he commented on our season finale with Josh, because Julio's who ranked me in BJJ.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he was listening to the show.
Me neither. That's why I'm like, wait, what?
But he commented. He goes, "This was great. Josh is an excellent interviewer. And it was awesome hearing about how you guys got your starts."
Wow.
So thanks.
That's great. Especially on the last episode when we switched it up.
Yeah, man. Thanks all you YouTubers.
Yeah.
You guys rock. Wow. You know, no, seriously, like the engagement makes me feel good, man.
Right? It makes me feel like we're not wasting our time.
Yeah.
And that there are people actually listening enough to say something.
Yeah. Totally, man. Totally. So hopefully, we'll meet you folks in person one day.
Get that out, okay?
Yeah. I had to think about what I wanted to say, bro. I kind of like stuttered there for a minute. Yo, so what you got going on in your life, dude?
Man, it's been a weird week. I had a friend, I had a guy I work with pass away suddenly, which has just been really awkward.
Yeah, that's horrible, man. A guy he worked with you at Hard Out.
He worked with me at Hard Out, and we had Rocco on the show.
Yeah.
He was one of Rocco's first employees.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was one of the first guys I rode the truck with. And just a great guy. It was a sudden thing. I'm thinking maybe an aneurysm. Like it was really sudden.
Not expected.
Yeah, it's always weird when you lose someone that you see it a lot, because then all of a sudden they're not there, and then it's like those certain things that you do or that you did with them, like it's weird to just never. You're like, it's never going to happen again. I'm never going to do this. We're never going to bullshit like this.
Do you know if there are any GoFundMes or anything like that?
I don't know about that. I know that the service is coming up on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I don't.
No. But I mean, this will air long after that. But if there is some kind of
as far as I know,
fundraising thing, we'll link it. No,
okay.
That's horrible. I hate hearing stories like this.
Right, especially like he was a great guy, and he and I, and
he's young. He's younger. He's younger than us. Well, no, he's younger than me.
50. He was 54. He was so he was older than me. But we always used to crack jokes because there'd be days when he and I were on like a big job, and then the younger guys would be on a small job.
Yeah,
and we're like, there's over 100 years between the two of us, and there's fucking 58 years between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't they on this job?
That's because you're an old fart,
right?
Paul. You're getting there. Yeah. Well, that's horrible. All the best to his friends and family and everybody at Hard Out, man.
So yeah. I mean, but outside of that, like good things coming down the pipeline. Some security work, some content security work. Be happy to just get some work on a show. Stunts or not, steady work.
No, nothing's steady. No.
Steady work is, so I'll take some steady.
But speaking of work, remember an episode or two back, I was on a rant about auditions.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I actually nailed that audition, so I owe you, and Jabari.
This was the funniest audition ever because I'll tell you anything.
We can share the show because it will have aired by the time this episode airs. So, and I had a great time on the show. This was on the series finale of FBI Most Wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got to play a Russian Orthodox priest, and we'll put some. There were definitely jokes going on set, but. A lot of Pope jokes because this is when they were looking.
Looking for a new Pope.
Yeah. So me and my wardrobe and my robes and the makeup was great. This like long ZZ Top beard, Yeah,
you look like you walked around with one of those big fucking metal crosses and just used to like whip the fuck out with those.
Yeah, man.
You flog people.
Yeah,
that's the kind of priest you look like.
I'll do it.
They gave you that big bushy fucking.
Yeah. Man.
You look. Yeah, you kind of look badass.
So it was fun. I was actually playing a small role, so it was cool. So yeah, that has already aired. So you guys, if you're interested in checking it out, go back and watch the series finale of FBI Most Wanted, and you'll You'll see this priest get choked out here.
So the funny thing about this fucking audition that this guy didn't have to do, and I use that word exactly the way I meant to. He didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
well, no, I had to act like I was choking.
He had to act like he was choking, and then and then the guy behind him had to read, and I had to read, and he had no fucking lines.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. I owe you guys a beer.
You owe 20 years of training and being choked out every day in this gym.
So the show is co-coordinated by Declan Mulvey and Natasha Boundary, and Declan was on set that day, and I love working with Declan. I worked with him when he was covering for Court Hessler on Blacklist, but this was the first time I worked for him on one of his shows, and fun times. Really good people. And I got to see Tim Gallen, who we had on the show a few weeks ago. And if you remember, Tim, at the end of our episode with Tim, I said, I hope to see you on set soon.
And literally.
And then I show up on set, and he shows up. He goes, Steve, really I owe this job to you, because you just said,
I hope to see you on set soon. You willed it into happening.
Yeah. So I love Tim Gallen. So anyway, yeah, some cool shit going on. Anything else we got to plug? Yeah, the Art of Movie Making Film Festival.
Oh yeah, our
we're sponsoring this festival. Our sponsoree.
Sorry,
festival?
I had a meltdown.
Yeah. Wait, no, that's supposed to be me. I'm supposed to have the meltdowns. Right.
We both had one.
But yeah, so that's coming up this October. The Film Freeway link will be in the show notes if you want to submit for best stunt performance. The winner of that category we will invite to be on this very show.
Boom.
So head on over there and submit if you've got a performance that you'd like to submit.
And we also have our screening of this documentary we're going to be talking about coming up.
Yes, August 16th. August 16th. So definitely jump on our Patreon if you want to invite to that live event.
All right.
And it's cool to meet the other Patreon folks and people in person. I love that shit, man.
For sure.
And before we go, we never really plug ourselves. It always feels weird. But
it does. We're both bad at that.
We're both really bad at it. But hey, listen, if you're in the New York area and you need a studio to rent, a space to do auditions, people to train your actors,
please come by. You know, reach out to me and Steve. Breakfall Studios, Film Fights with Friends Pod, or Steve and I individually. They all connect to the same place.
Yeah, you can find us. We're this studio that you always see in the background here. We held auditions here for John Wick 3. We've had actor training here for Raising Kanan. We've had some pretty cool people in the house here, and also student films and also indie films, and
phones ringing and things are happening as well.
Yeah.
There's things coming up.
If you need a space in Midtown Manhattan, it's like I won't say the production, but we are going to be renting to a production soon.
Exactly.
And it's because the actor lives here in New York. They're filming somewhere else, but the actor needs to train, and they're living here in New York, so they're gonna be here. So we're a very conveniently located spot right in Midtown.
Right in Midtown.
Yeah, totally. So look us up and hit us up if you need anything. And if you want to be on the mailing list, it's Fighting with Friends Pod at gmail.com. I think that's about it, right?
That's it.
Did I forget anything?
Bringing in Paul?
Just give us love wherever you see us on the socials.
All right.
Let's bring in Dr. Paul Heinzelmann.
Let's bring in the doctor.
Dr. Paul Heinzelmann. Did I say that right?
You did.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you on the show, man. This is really great.
This is awesome. This is also our first documentary that we're going over. So this is great. We're going over an entire film today.
Yeah, it's a little different than our normal shows.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's start with this. We were trying to figure out before we got on mic like how we wanted to start this interview, but I did with one of our producers of the show, Matt Kaplowitz, in 2016. We did a documentary on the stunt business called Concrete and Crash Pads. And in the process of making this documentary, we had such a challenge getting people that are used to not talking about their careers and sort of being behind the curtain, and we got a lot of doors closed in our face. You know what I mean? So,
and it's not only talking about the careers, but you're trying to get them to talk about something that is not talked about.
Yes.
And when it is talked about, it's still not talked about afterwards.
And in your film, in Safe Sets, you got some pretty high profile people to talk about their experiences. And so I'm curious, like, what that process was like for you, trying to get people on record to talk about the concerns they had about the industry.
Yeah, in total we interviewed 48 people. Some of those people decided they wanted to not go forward. So even after we filmed it, a few days later, they decided they didn't want to. At that time, we had a director who organized all these interviews, and it was really sort of we didn't use social media, but word sort of got out that we're going to do this project on health and safety. And to be honest, initially we were going to do something that focused more on health behaviors. So, when you're lifting something heavy, make sure you squat down.
Like ergonomic, kind of,
stuff like that. And, tips for sleep and things like that. So over time, though, people started telling us stories that had a little more depth and nuance, and sort of hinted at the fact that there's these systemic level problems in the industry. And so I sort of came in as an observer, not understanding the culture of film and TV making at all, and sort of just neutrally observing and sort of second guessing myself. But I got to know a fair number of people. We got people to go on camera that tended to already be established in their field.
Right.
I think, and, they often had stories about, the days where they worried about being blacklisted, and afraid of speaking out. So we got incredibly lucky, and we got some great people to go on
John
camera.
Hamm and John Malkovich, and like some really notable people. I mean, a lot of the crew members that were in your film too are also notable for inside the industry. Like the average viewer might not know who they are, but
sure.
But like you said, it's like there is this fear of blacklisting and stuff like that. And that kind of feeds to the whole initial problem in the first place, like why people don't report issues and why people don't.
Well, I mean, without even going into it, we heard a story this last week of someone speaking up and getting sent home.
That whole, that sort of hierarchical nature where if you speak out, you get in trouble is somewhat unique, I think, to the film industry. It seems other industries have, sort of channels built in where people can, whistle blow and not lose their job. But
I mean, you can, but I mean, when I worked for Disney, the one thing that really not saying anything. The one thing I realized about HR is, you think that, but they're there for the company. They're not there for you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that I believe that the line you were talking about is the HR department.
Yeah.
But they're not there for the person. They're there to make sure the company's ass is covered.
And
True.
even if you go back in history, and I'm sure Becky, one of your producers, she's really, her depth of knowledge on film world history is pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But if you go back like to SAG was developed as a guild of unemployed people. It was by design to be a collective group of unemployed people. So in the early 20th century, the Cliff Notes version is talkies come along, and the then silent film actors, right, weren't very good with voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
And so theater people started coming into the business and then being abused. And the theater people were like, who were already unionized, were like, no, this is not good, right? We need some protections. And so at that time in the studio system, right, all the legacy studios had their actors and you were contracted to a particular studio. And the only way that these big name actors would agree to have a collective bargaining situation was if SAG wasn't a union and wasn't responsible for getting people employment. they didn't want to lose their jobs, right? So by design, from the very early days of this, it was still about getting your own work, and nobody's going to help you get work, and then people are going to fight you for your work, right? And that, even though now, like all these decades later, almost 100 years later, that cultural foundation is still there. Everybody's worried about backstabbing, or not even backstabbing, just not getting a job, the competition of getting a job,
Right.
And in the stunt business, and you go over it in your film, is like, and in what we were just talking about, if you're injured, you don't report it because you don't want the rep of not being castable, right? Because and the timestamp on something like that is way longer than a success. Like we've talked about it before. You do a great job on set, great, you did your job. Something goes wrong on set, or you get injured on set, they'll remember that for a year later, a year after the injury is healed, and you're fine. But they'll just remember, oh yeah, Paul, didn't he tear his rotator cuff on that? So let's go to somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, they remember that kind of stuff.
Right. And that could be 3 years prior, but they're like, didn't he just blow his knee out?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a long time ago.
Yeah. So yeah, people are very protective, and they're afraid to report, for lots of reasons, like for that, or maybe they don't want to, we have good health insurance in SAG, AFTRA. So if I report an injury, I have to go to workman's comp, which is pretty shitty.
Yep.
So I'd rather use my own health insurance, you know what I mean? And so they won't report it, and so it just goes on and on why people underreport.
Well,
stuff.
I mean, I'll go into a quick story. When I was working on a show, I had a prior knee injury. That asshole blew out in that workshop.
Yeah.
Right. This was like a year later. I'm on set. Obviously I still had a knee injury, but it wasn't injured. Do you know what I mean? Because there was something
acute.
torn. It was like tendon stuff. It was torn. That doesn't heal. And we were pretty much done with most of the day. And I went to go get some ratchets out of the back of the truck, not doing anything. And I jumped out of the bed of the truck to the ground. And my knee went out. And I dropped to the ground. Like, I just immediately dropped to the ground, and I looked left and I looked right, and I was like, okay, nobody saw it. Get the fuck up. So I got up and I was like, and the first thing I did was I was like, I need to make sure that I get my walk right in these next 5 steps. So I'm walking clean by the time I get to set and I don't have a limp. Like, that's where my head was.
Yeah.
And I take 3 steps, and the key PA comes around the corner, and she looks at me. She goes, "Why are you limping?" And I was just like, I was like, nothing. I was like, I just, blah, 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 rolled my ankle. I forgot what I said. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And literally I went through the rest of the day. Luckily, all I had to do was run. But I had to do short sprints across the room, but I didn't say anything. And then when I went and got surgery, I didn't even bring up, that was how I heard it. I brought up it getting hurt in the workshop.
Yeah.
Right. I still, like, now I tell it because it's so many years ago, but the first thing I did was I was like, oh my God, nobody can know I'm hurt.
Yeah.
So this brings us back to your point, Dr. Paul. Like, so the people that decided to go public, for lack of a better word, in your film, were people that were secure and felt established.
I think that's fair. Yeah. For the most part. Yep.
Dial it back. So how did this whole process start for you? You said you were originally going to do more of a how-to and thing, but before that, you were called on to set to do some medical work, right? I mean, what introduced you to this world of film that you're now sort of championing?
Yeah, well, it all started back in 2006. Massachusetts passed a tax credit that started to bring productions into the state. There really wasn't, unlike cities like LA, where there's kind of an infrastructure built to support the industry. In the early days that didn't exist, and I ended up just simply having a friend in the industry who was working on a project, and they had a producer who was complaining about her ear, and I kept saying, well, just have her make an appointment and come to my office. And she said, no, you don't understand. She's not going to leave the production office. She's too busy. You got to come and see her. And finally I said, okay. And
wow, a doctor that does house calls. Amazing.
and it was, I did it reluctantly because I wasn't sure if my insurance covered it, but you know, it was sort of like, okay, I'll do this one favor. And, you know, after I saw her, there were several other people who were sort of waiting in the hallway because they had stuff going on that they needed, you know, maybe it was a med refill or, you know, sinus thing or something. And very quickly, I sort of became the guy to call with medical stuff. And I enjoyed it. You know, I mean, it was something different. It was something challenging.
And it's exciting, right? When you're on
exciting.
set, it's exciting. It's an exciting environment. It's very intoxicating. It's like,
yes.
It's like an abusive relationship, right? When you're in it, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're out of it,
it's just you bitch about it.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, it was definitely exciting. And then, you know, just over time, I started to. I had the same year that tax credit came into Massachusetts, I finished a master's in public health. And, you know, sometimes people go and get it's called an MPH, their MPH, you know, to sort of buy time and figure out what you want to do. And some people get an MPH and they're hired by their health department, or they go work for the World Health Organization or something.
Right.
And I was interested in telemedicine, but like not really sure what I was going to do with my degree. And so I was in that sort of public health frame of mind when I started to look at the way the productions run. And that's kind of where the film evolved, especially when people started talking more about the problem with the big stakeholders like the studios or the unions. And, you know, people are working these long hours and they can't, you know, they can't do anything about it. And
so quick question, just so you got the phone call in what year for your first run to set?
I think it was the tax credit kicked in 2006, and I started in 2007 in the summer.
2007. Okay, I just wanted to get the time frame from then to now, because for some reason I thought it was so. I was like, oh my god, you hit the ground running, made a documentary right when you got into business. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Just in time for the writer's strike. That
right? I was like, man, you killed it, bro.
Yeah. Well, and we started this in 2018, and
the film project.
Yeah. And it was going to be strictly an educational docuseries, and so we ended up with 50 hours of footage, and we were going to chop it up into 7 big chunks. And then over time, the Rust incident happened, and I had a business doing COVID testing for film and TV, and I was able to bank some money and decided to make it into a documentary. And so we had to not just have talking heads, we had to have some compelling B-roll, and the project sort of reinvented itself. It evolved.
The editing is who's your editor? I mean, because doing documentaries, right? A lot of times you're kind of describing this process, but a lot of times the story of the documentary, like as opposed to like a narrative film where you start the film with the story pretty much outlined, right? When you're doing a documentary, it can be kind of like archaeology. You're figuring out the story as you go,
exactly,
or even after in the editing room.
Right.
So I'm curious about that process.
Well, that's a great question, because the storyline was always a little bit of a tough challenge. And I got lucky, and I connected with this group called New Doc Editing out of San Francisco, and our editor, Richard Levine. He and I put the story together, and he's got an editing credit and a writing credit on the project, because we met every week for hours, and he's a bit of a perfectionist, which is great. And we sort of
They
built
have to
the
be.
story together.
Editors are like that. They have to be.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I asked the same question to Matt at the Film Jitsu screening,
Right.
and because for the and I thought he edited his the opposite way.
Oh,
so
right.
it's really interesting hearing this perspective because Matt decided to edit his in a more
Preston.
Sorry,
You're thinking Matt Polly was on the panel.
Yeah, was on the panel. But Preston, I asked why he didn't do like more of a machete and kind of go through each interview with each person and mix it all up and kind of the way most documentaries are, and kind of the way I felt yours was. It had that documentary flow to it. You went through one story, this guy. Yeah. But then Preston did it completely opposite, and he told everybody's story and then moved on to another story and told that story, but never really went back to another place again.
Yeah. The Safe Sets documentary is very organic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very organic. So you had your editor and you. How much time when did it? You said after the Rust incident or in 2018? That was kind of.
Yeah, I mean, so in 2018 we were going to do an educational docuseries,
right?
And it was mostly going to be talking heads, and then I had someone take a look at what we did is we took 40, 50 hours and we chunked it down into 7 hours, and I had this filmmaker named Chris Rodman look at it. She volunteered to look at it. And she said, if you've got the energy and you've got an archival producer and you're willing to dig up B-roll, you could make this into a really interesting documentary and not just have that sort of educational bent to it.
Yeah, like you said, not just a series of talking heads on a screen. Right?
Yeah. And so another key member of our team is a guy named Rob Garver, who's our archival producer, who, did an amazing job of finding footage.
Oh, my God. The footage
was, I couldn't believe some of the footage.
I mean, yeah, Paul
the
was
Midnight
saying,
Rider.
Yeah.
Footage from Midnight Rider, I was...
Paul was saying before we got on mic that, well, you could probably say it better than me, but about the glow, like, we all know about these incidents, but after watching the film, you get really into the weeds with it. Mm-hmm. And we see a lot of the B-roll and we hear a lot of the stories that never got out.
There's so much of the story that I didn't know. It's like, I'm like, oh, the Midnight Rider. I'm like, yeah, I know all about it.
Yeah.
No,
right.
I did not know all about it. I did not know all about Rust. All of the fucking information, misinformation, and everything that went out about Rust.
Right.
I didn't know half of the bullshit that went on.
Yeah. Well, the Midnight Rider footage,
and the Midnight Rider as well. Oh my God.
The dashboard cam of the train was really, to me, haunting.
That was, that was
incredible.
I was
when you saw that, like, you cut right when that piece flew off the train.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was just like,
right. Yeah. I mean, I was almost, I was a little worried maybe it was too gratuitous. We'd interviewed Sarah Jones's parents, and
nothing was disrespectful in any way.
Well, that's kind of what I'm hoping, and they actually, I sort of got their approval, if you will. So yeah, our archival producer, I don't know how he did it, his connections, and he did an amazing job for sure.
100%. So the film, basically, you kind of have it broken into categories of issues, like stunts and drug abuse and mental health and sleep deprivation. Like you have these categories. And did that evolve? Like after you started hearing all these stories, you're like, wow, these 5 common topics keep coming up.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I was originally going to try to structure the film in a theoretical framework that's used in public health called the modifiable determinants of health. And those are physical environment, access to medical services, health behaviors of of an individual, and then the social determinants of health. Um, and it it didn't quite work out that way, because the stories that we found and the interviews that we did forced us to kind of change that up a little bit. So it's to some degree it's somewhat random, but we picked topics that's kind of represented as many different areas as we could. I got a message from an animal handler not long ago who saw the film and said, "Hey, you forgot all about animals." So we did the best we could to sort of pick, the lowest hanging fruit, and some of the,
those are some pretty messed up stories. Animal stories.
Oh yeah.
Like anytime you back in the day in the 90s when you saw a live action movie with animals, I kind of can't watch those anymore, because now I know what happened.
Yeah.
right.
Not to just one, but multiple animals during, like, what was it? Homeward Bound.
Oh, please go back to the early days of
the scene with the cats and the raging river.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of them drowned.
Like how many horses were intentionally killed and things like that. And
Lord of the Rings, I think a lot of horses died, right?
Wow.
I don't know, but I'm thinking
like
even further back, like, to like the Ben-Hur days and the early days where the animals were disposable,
Right.
So you found these 5 categories. I mean, the categories make sense because it's something we can all relate to. It's like, I mean, in and out of the industry. I mean, every single person who sees this at some point in their life has been deprived of sleep and can somewhat understand like what that does to you.
Sure. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like we landed on sort of the key, the key issues for the most part.
I mean, I'd like to get into some of the stuff a little bit. We don't have to go into the weeds, but so let's just like spin the wheel and pick a category.
Sure.
Like substance abuse. What do you find? I know they're all sort of interrelated, but what would you say common issues are that in your perspective as a public health person and a doctor and someone outside the industry looking in, what needs to be done? It's a big question, but what needs to be done? And maybe tell us a little bit about a case that's in the film.
Dr. Paul, how are you going to stop the drug problem?
It's a good question. I mean, it's we found some data. Yeah, and so first of all, on all of these topics, we tried to look for research data that had something to sort of, sink our teeth into a little bit. The data on this topic came from Health and Human Services, a group. The acronym is SAMHSA, and it's substance abuse, something or other. And it lists the different industries that struggle the most with things like illicit drug use, and arts, entertainment, and recreation was one of their categories, and that was the second most common industry to be dealing with that issue. Just sort of anecdotally, the sort of the personal vignette that we used in our film was a guy named Luke Scott, who was a young PA who had an addiction to heroin that killed him ultimately, but it wasn't just heroin; it was other opiates, and as individuals that have sort of an addictive personality, there'll be sort of a stimulant to get you going in the morning, and a sedative to keep you going at night. And what amazed me was that he could get what he was looking for right on set. So it tells me that there to a certain level it's built into the industry. The challenge about what to do with that is tough, because the argument that his mother makes and others is that there should be a focus on harm reduction, which is really taking the standpoint that we're going to acknowledge that there are people that are using drugs, and we should make things like naloxone available. The studio, the argument on the other side is hard to understand. Some of the set medics would call me and secretly try to see if they can get naloxone. And the implication is, if you are preparing for the possibility of an overdose, if something awful happens, then you're accountable. And so that's part of the dynamic of trying to deal with that problem.
And that, just to pause for 1 second, that is an issue, because I know you brought up the film brings up in the stunt industry that there are no sort of levels of qualifications or anything. Like when you get into SAG-AFTRA, you can just say, you just pick what category you're going to be. I'm going to be stunts. I could have chose dancer. It would have been really funny. Nobody wants to see me dance, but and the question has been raised to the union in the past about sort of getting behind some training programs, not to certify somebody as an expert stunt performer, but to say, you need to take some driving courses, do the OSHA 10, do this, that, the other thing, and stand behind some training programs. And the perspective of the union was always like, that opens us up to liability. So we're just going to stay hands off.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they totally backed off on that rationale when it came to the #MeToo stuff, because now they stand behind and advocate for very specific training programs for the intimacy coordinators, right?
Yeah.
But they still won't do it for stunt performers or anything like that.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
But to your point, yeah, the studio is basically giving you this sort of double speak, right? It's like, well, if you acknowledge that there's a problem, then we're liable. So we don't want to prepare for something that we know exists.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so the Luke Scott's mother, who's in our film, her mission is to try to get naloxone sort of all over the place. And, in a set medic's bag, for example, which it may not be in.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. We could do a whole podcast on set medics, which, there, you mentioned it in the film, and I'm the chair of a subcommittee in SAG working on trying to develop a national standard for set medic level, the level of set medic, like a minimum standard for what level of training and education.
Yeah,
it seems like almost insurmountable, but I know IATSE has the same goal. I mean, I'm sure you know about the contract services safety bulletins. There's not a single one for medics. There's no definition of what you should expect from a set medic. And even though, let's say, IATSE local, the New York local, has a very high standard of who could be in the union as a set medic, the production is not contractually obligated to hire that person as a set medic, right? There's nothing in the contract that says you have to have that. And the same with the SAG-AFTRA contract. The SAG-AFTRA contract says you just need somebody able to do first aid, and it's very general. That's it. And, which is almost comical, you need a vehicle that's capable of carrying a stretcher. And that's basically all the SAG-AFTRA signatory contract says.
Wow.
So the productions are under no obligation to actually hire someone qualified,
Right.
It could be a PA with their AHA first aid CPR card that's never had to deal with a traumatic incident in their life.
He was a lifeguard in high school.
Yeah. So having, like, even the goal of having Narcan or anything like that in a set medic's bag, even if you would still need to come up with some definition of what is a set medic, which doesn't exist.
That's fascinating. Well, what I also noticed is that some of the set medics who have advanced training will put things in their kit, like intubation tubes. If someone, you gotta provide an airway if someone's
Right.
choking or whatever, and they're told to not do that, but they do it anyways because they're like, if somebody needs it right in front of me and I know how to do it and I don't do it, I won't be able to live with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to sort of secretly um, put things in their kit that they want to have there, but that they're told they shouldn't have. So it's just a weird dynamic there.
Yeah, I stunt coordinated a film last year. This is my first feature film that I was the main stunt coordinator on, and so in pre-production, I asked to speak with the medic, and so we could strategize. These are the type of stunts that are going to happen. This is what, if there's going to be an injury, maybe it would be orthopedic, or it might be this or that, and just kind of go over like possible incidents and come up with a plan, like an evacuation plan, and like a normal plan. And so he said to me, I was the first stunt coordinator that had ever reached out to him before they were on set the day of shooting.
Wow.
Because I'll ask performers, even on student films that I work on, I'll ask them in private, not in front of everybody in the safety meeting or anything, but in private, like, okay, do you have anything? And I imported this from when I was an event supervisor for mixed martial arts. I asked the performers, basically, do you have asthma? Do you have diabetes? Do you have anything? Like, if you're unconscious, what do we need to know? Like if you're going into diabetic shock or any kind of thing, like, and your insulin is in your bag back in the honey wagon, or your inhaler is somewhere in one of these bags, like, we need to know ahead of time, like what's going on. And
I had that one day where I was doing a stunt and everyone on the set, there was only one person there where English was his first language. And the only thing I asked for was that after I did my stunt, that he was the first person that reached me. So if I said I didn't want to be moved because something didn't feel right, they wouldn't try and move me. I'm like, that's the most important thing. I go, I need someone who's going to understand me, near me, ASAP.
Yeah, this was on a Bollywood film shooting here in New York. So it was, yeah.
I was definitely taking care of myself on that one.
Yeah. I have a little Google alert for health and safety issues in the film industry, and I can't tell you how many stories about injuries and accidents and all the stuff that we talk about in this film that happens in Bollywood. It feels like an area that's maybe 20 years behind where we are in terms of thinking about health and safety.
Well, you hear like the stories of like the Hong Kong, action cinemas, when they basically just are doing a stunt scene and they just have stunt guys lined up. One guy gets hurt, send him to the hospital, put another guy in his place. Oh, he got hurt, hospital, get another one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's just how they run it.
Oh my God.
So back to the substance abuse though. So there's these two sort of conflicting rationale on how to handle it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that of all the topics that we handled, that one's a little bit different in some ways because, arguably these kind of things happen in all industries. But in the film industry, they certainly could be much more proactive. The folks that are sort of getting by because they're using substances are doing it in secret, and
or it's just known and no one's saying anything because it's not affecting their work until it does.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Like, I guess I'll just go into, I won't go draw the story out, but I told you before when we were
off mic talking.
When we were off mic talking, but when I was I'm not going to mention the show, but I was working on a show. It was one of my first jobs, one of my first week. I got a call on the radio that there's somebody possibly on the ground in the honey wagon, and anybody who's gone into a honey wagon before knows that when you open the door is eye level. You have to walk up the stairs to get to it. Mm. So when that door was opened, I saw the fold of someone's knee on the ground because he was on his knees, and then his head was, he was just, in the fetal position on his knees, head to head in the ground. And then if you've ever been into a honey wagon, sometimes it's not a perfect square. There's this weird little spot in the front that I don't know like what it angular, is, but it's a little angular area for no fucking reason whatsoever. And this guy managed to pass out head first into that little spot. And then his body fell against the door. So he wedged himself. He turned himself into a door wedge. Oh, jeez. So I honestly, I pushed him with my foot a couple of times. I'm just like, yo, what the fuck, man? I'm like, get up. And then there was nothing. And then I jump over and I look over, and whoever it was out cold. And then I hear breathing in liquid, like he was face down, breathing in vomit. So by then my boss had come, and my boss was like, call 911. And I was immediately like, don't call 911. We have set cops that are 20 feet away. Go tell them, they'll get you a direct line to the medics. And I was like, and we'll avoid a whole lot of bullshit. Mm-hmm. So he went out there and did that. And then by then the set cops had come up, and this was really funny. And you know how sometimes on the outside of a stall, all there is the little, like, looks like a giant thing for a screwdriver. Yep. Right? Yep. So that was the only thing that was there. So there was no way to unlock the stall. And then if it was unlocked, if we pushed it in, we were pushing his neck crooked. Oh, geez. Right? So when we pushed his butt, his head went in and his neck went crooked. Oh my so we God. Couldn't push to get our way in. And then I stopped hearing him breathing in his vomit. Oh, jeez. So then I was like, we need to get him out. And what was really funny is the first thing the cop did was he popped his baton out and he started hitting the flat lock on the door like it was going to do something. Oh, so I'm like, dude, I was like, just hold my feet while I try and go over. And I don't know if you know, but it's only like 6 inches of space in the top of a honey wagon. Okay. So I had to turn.
You mean above the stall?
Above the stall. It's not a lot of space.
Yeah.
So I had him, I tried getting up there myself, and everyone just fucking watched. And I'm like, can you boost my foot? Can you, so he, wedged his hands, and I put my foot up and I went over, but then I had to switch. I had to hip switch, right? So I had to hip switch. So my stomach was facing up, and I was able to grab the top beam and then bring my legs down. So now I was standing up on the toilet behind him. Oh, so then I sat down below him and I put my whole entire chest over his back because I didn't know what was wrong with him, and then supported his head and neck on my chest, and then sat him up. Wow. And then I leaned him over and I opened the door because, again, I'm supporting his head. I don't want his neck to wobble. And then as I open the door and I get him out, the greatest thing happened. And by then the set medic had got there. That's how quick this was. Like, this was a matter of minutes from when I got the call to when all this happened. And the set medic, Mike, was there, and I was like, oh, thank God. And I turned this guy to give his upper half to Mike, and he looked like the fucking Night King from Game of Thrones. That's what his face looked like. Geez. That's what his fucking eyeballs looked like. God. It was the creepiest thing I had ever seen. Wow. So we put him down. We put him, and then Mike starts to go and gives him CPR. I'm checking his pulse, and no joke, like, he touches this guy, and I'm like, dude, he's got a pulse. Mm-hmm. And he looks at me, and I'll never forget this moment. The medic looks at me and he goes, fuck you, he's dead. And I'm like, unless I feel my own pulse, he's got one. Wow. And he checked it, and he was like, holy shit. And then the guy kind of his color started coming back a little bit. Wow. And then by then the set medics, the paramedics had got there. And now he and I are still working on this guy. We put him in recovery position. We're going to do it. And now the paramedics are standing there over us. And I look up at them, and I'm like, do you want to take over?
You guys can take over anytime.
And they were like, oh, yeah. They're like, you were doing fine. And I was like, okay, well, get the fuck out of here. So then all that happens. And now the cops are standing there and I'm looking at the cops and I look down at the ground and then I see the belt and the needle on the ground.
Holy cow. Well, good for you for stepping forward, though. That's the, that's the sort of heroic part of your story there where you didn't give up on this guy. I mean, I like that part of the story too.
Yeah, for sure,
but you're right. I mean, in some ways,
well, I'm not the guy who stands there with his phone unless it's funny. Unless it's funny, I'm not going to sit there and record. I'm going to help.
Yeah, right.
But if it's funny, I mean,
yeah, and I guess in an ideal world, the studio or production company on some level would try to help this guy. I'm sure he was done.
Well,
that.
The thing is that, again, now you're dealing with union rules on when it comes to firing someone for substance abuse, and you can't do that anymore. You have to put them in a program. You have to get them help. You can't just fire someone for being an addict anymore. Like, it's especially when you're in a job, in a union job where there's contracts and all kinds of stuff involved. Mm-hmm. So there's that. There's having to see that guy again.
Right.
Who knows?
Some of the people that declined to be in your movie after this is the kind of stuff they were worried about not having work.
Yes.
Afterward, right? If they spoke up, they would, if not be fired, but not be rehired.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've never ever brought up the show this happened on, by the way, when I tell this story.
No.
And I never will. And that's exactly why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I still work with people who worked on that show.
And so word didn't get around about this guy, and perhaps he's working again.
He's dead. He OD'd. He died.
He did die.
Yeah, he ended up dying. And everybody knew about this guy. Everybody knew. Everybody knew about this guy, and everyone knew he had a problem.
Oh, jeez.
It was not a surprise.
I see.
And that's why I said before, I was like, it's everyone ignores it until they can't do their job.
Yeah.
Or something like this happens. But, and I believe he was a driver of the electric truck. And they just, for 12 hours a day, if you're not moving and they're in one location, that guy's got nothing to do.
Yeah, right. So I guess Luke's mom in this case would say, if this was it like fentanyl or some sort of opiate or something, a couple squirts of fentanyl, of naloxone, could have help save the guy. Mm-hmm. So that, that's kind of the angle on that.
What do you want? I mean, you told us after some of the festival screenings of this film that the Q&A became really like almost like rap sessions, right? People really want to talk and share, and like, what do you like? I feel like people do want to share at the same time as they're afraid to share stories.
Yeah.
And so what do you aspire to come from this movie? Because, you have the unique perspective of coming from the outside into the industry and seeing it from a more objective place with us, obviously from a certain perspective of your education and your profession and everything.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times like changes in our industry are sparked because of people like you coming in from the outside and saying, wait, what's going on here? For the rest of us, it's sort of like toxic behavior that's become normalized, right? So what do you see coming from this? Like, what do you want to happen with your film?
No, it's a great question. And it's sort of something that seems to present itself. It wasn't like we intentionally set to do this. And, like you mentioned, it almost turned into like a therapy session for some people after they saw our film. So I guess, first off, to essentially acknowledge and validate the experience that people in the industry are having, because that we talked about sort of the secrecy and trying to hide the bad stuff. Acknowledging it, I think for many who have looked at the film, has just that in and of itself has been a plus. We also want to educate and inform audiences about this other side of filmmaking that they probably have no idea exists. And we've got a fair number of film schools that are looking to screen the film, and some including it in their curriculum. And then I guess on the higher level, you mentioned Becky Morrison earlier. She has managed to make connections with groups like the DGA, and there was a member from the DGA who saw our film and got very excited about it. The Producers United group, and also the unions. We'd love it if we could put it out there so that the leadership of those groups can take a look at that perspective. And
you'd think they'd be receptive too, because I mean, these are their people.
Well,
essentially,
and we are screening your film here in New York in August, and of course you'll be there. But we're 100% inviting to the screening the SAG-AFTRA leadership from New York. I mean, whether they come, that's who knows, but they will definitely be invited, for sure.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of, in order for change to happen, it's got to be acknowledged by the folks that are in charge of these, the key stakeholders of the industry have to sort of.
Do you feel that feedback is genuine? Or do you think it's what they're saying it because they have to?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah. I mean, I think what we've experienced is we find someone who says, we got to show this to our group. And then they end up screening it to a smaller group. And it's sort of, it's a process in and of itself to get it. We haven't sort of gotten it out there in a big way yet. Although the head of SAG-AFTRA, not Fran Drescher, but
Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're trying to get it in front of him.
He really runs it.
I didn't mean it that way.
No. We know what you mean, though. But he's on
the business side
most.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
He's on the business end of things.
Yeah. They both run it. Yeah. That was a dumb way to say it. But if we can get in front of folks like that, and if any of them sort of are moved enough to say we gotta get this out there, we're sort of hoping for that. We also have the American Public Health Association is going to screen it at their annual meeting. So, outside the entertainment industry, the public health world is interested in it.
I think the SAG-AFTRA has a film screening series called The Business, which they actually screened our documentary. So I think we should be, we will. I'm gonna do a little prompting and see about, after if we get the right people to come to the screening in August, and hopefully we can maybe get that to be in the SAG-AFTRA the business screenings.
Yeah. So even though you're kind of early on in the whole screening process of this documentary, with all of the footage that you've talked about, that you've gone through, have you thought about using that footage for other future things? You know what I mean? Been like, we kind of went into this here, but we have enough footage to really kind of do a side piece just on this.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Blu-ray extra featurette.
Right.
Right. Exactly. The financial side of it is, we spend a lot of money, more so than I would have imagined, but I'm new to the industry too. So, if we can find a way to get some funding, that would be a great sort of next step.
Right.
To dig into all the other footage that we have, for sure.
You mentioned in the documentary that you had been planning on doing a research study at Harvard, and then that sort of the support of that immaterial, it disappeared.
Yeah. Yep.
And you didn't go into depth in the film, and you don't have to here, but I'm curious, you had mentioned that you had union support, and then you kind of lost union support.
Yeah.
Or that you were pontificating why, maybe.
Right. On the researcher side, so I approached different groups to try to put a study together. And they all said something to the effect of, if this is going to be worth our time, you've got to get buy-in from the unions who will collaborate with us. What we managed to do on the local level was get that to happen, and we were going to start small with focus groups and what are called key informant interviews, and try to essentially identify what did the unions want to look at, and let's let them drive the boat. Somewhere along the line, and I don't know exactly what was the tipping point, some of the factors that were our suspects are the fact that the folks at the national level got involved, and perhaps that's where the collaboration fell apart. They also got word that we were doing a documentary, and that didn't seem to be well received either. I think it was the fear was that we were going to do an expose kind of thing.
The dirty underbelly.
Right.
You're going to show
exactly.
You're going to do it like a Vice.
Yes,
the dark side of the ring.
Right.
And I think anybody that sees this film will see that is not what the film is. It's actually very supportive of the industry. It's like,
thank you.
It's like, this is about, like you said, it's about acknowledging something that's going on. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about saying, like, hey, this is going on, and we need to look at it for everybody's improvement.
I mean, it's no different than doping in the Tour de France. Then they decided to look in. You know what I mean? They decided to look into it, and then look at what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same. It happens everywhere.
I appreciate that. That's what we were aiming for. I certainly did not want to storm into the office of Bob Iger at Disney like a Michael Moore or something. Or,
yeah, I mean, at the screenings, we talked about the people that it was almost cathartic to see the movie, but did you have any opposite reactions, or people who were kind of opposed to what they were seeing, or was it across the board people supportive? I
have to say, I think it was mostly supportive. I can't think of any. I can't think of anybody that expressed, sort of a negative reaction to it. I think one person did say we should have had more that highlights the work of the Teamsters. That was one thing that somebody brought up.
But that's constructive criticism. I mean, I think that's not like. I mean, I'm just trying to make the point that it is not what people might have feared it was going to be.
Yes.
And I mean, after you sent us the screener, and we sat right here in the studio and watched it, and after it was done, we were just like, "Holy fuck!" Yeah, like this. People need to see this. I wrote that to you in the email. People need to see this.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah,
there were so many things that were left out of the media sensational news of all of these events all of the three main events that you went over, and those little things are so important.
Yeah,
like they were so the all the little details that you put in your documentary about these incidents that you went into were so important. And I feel like I looked at them, I go, I wish I had known this.
Well, you know what it is also, and just like sort of in closing, again going to say, like, people need to follow us and pay attention to the screening on August 16th. But I think seeing the movie is like, every single person in the industry, no matter what guild you're with, no matter what union, what role you are, we've all seen stuff. We've all talked about stuff.
There's no way you can't relate to this movie.
And watching the movie is like, oh, somebody's finally saying all the stuff that we can't say. But it's like, it was almost like you were speaking for you and the film, and everybody in the film was speaking for everybody else in the community that wants to speak but doesn't, for all the
like we could do
reasons,
another hour-long interview if we moved on from substance abuse and just went on to sleep.
Yeah.
Working 16-hour days,
or
having to drive to work, having to drive home,
or toxic materials. I mean, the study that, or the assessment you talked about with the lead squibs in the season finale of Breaking Bad, and how the assessment was that the air quality was thousands of times beyond the allowable limit of lead exposure.
When I was doing COVID stuff, I turned into an air nerd. I turned into an air nerd about how the air turnover in rooms when there was no air filtration in there. And I wrote a huge thing to Disney saying that the COVID department should move into like an air quality to when they have to go shoot somewhere. Like, I know they bring in guys from ABC that go in, that'll look at a place and be like, there's fucking asbestos up there, you can't shoot here. But they do anyway. But to be there and been like, listen, you need to bring air purifiers in here if you're going to shoot in this moldy basement. Everyone's going to be breathing in the same air. You have no windows in here. Change the air over.
Yeah.
Like, because the one thing that I noticed that doing all the COVID stuff was people weren't getting sick on set. They would get COVID, but one guy wouldn't have a sore throat, and then the next day you have your entire video village with the sniffles.
Yeah.
That stopped happening. And I was like, well, we could keep that from happening if we keep the air clean.
Right.
They didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So normally at the end of the interview, we always ask people what you got coming up, but we know what you got coming up. And so people we will put the website for the film in the show notes and the social media links. And so they can pay attention if they can't come to New York in August, or they're not on the invite list, or they're not a Patreon supporter of ours, to pay attention to your festival screenings, because you're still in the process of screening at festivals, and people may be able to find you a screening closer to where they are, Yeah.
Yeah. Our Instagram, if they go to our website and follow on Instagram, that's where most of the news is.
It's
where we're going.
It's a great film, and everybody involved should be really proud of it.
Well,
and
thank you guys.
No, but thank you. I mean, and I think anybody in the industry who watches it will thank you.
Yeah, especially for just, I mean, in a weird way, it's having the balls to make it. Having the balls to just make it and been like, listen, there's, and not highlight one specific issue and hide from the rest. You really went for it, and we appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate you sharing that perspective. That means a lot. I thank you guys so much.
And thank you for coming on the show, man. This was great, and I hope it was good for you too.
Yeah,
and we can't wait to see you for our private screening.
Yeah. Looking forward to that, you guys.
We'll see you on August 16th, and so the information will be about that in our show notes too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Paul.
Thanks again, Doc.
Okay, guys.
Chef from Chef Paul. Dr. Paul.
Take care.
Film Fights with Friends is produced by Stephen Kepfer, Paul Veracci, Press Record Studios, and Breakfall Studios. This episode was engineered by Richard Butler. This show is powered by our supporters at Patreon and is a registered trademark of Film Fights with Friends, LLC. Original theme by Aru Luster.